So today we are here at the Stormwater Awareness Week Kick-off Event. So practically just a fun event to bring stormwater awareness to Beaufort County. We have a few native plant vendors, local partners that came out, as well as water quality related booths to kind of just talk about the water in our areas, because stormwater is a very important issue for Beaufort County.
So this is our first annual kickoff event for Stormwater Week. So this nice big event, I want to thank Shellring for letting us be out here and use this venue for our kickoff day.
Outreach events like this really just materializes all these types of issues and awareness for people. So when you have community events, it facilitates an area where people can talk about these issues, kind of see it in person, and provide outlets for education as well on these types of issues that you may not often as easily get resources or information on. So it's kind of just a way to bring people together and get a conversation going and having the community together and talking and learning and networking. I think that's the most valuable part of all these types of events, is people coming together in a certain space around a certain issue or topic and talking. So stormwater sounds like a really wonky term, right? Like who talks about stormwater? But stormwater happens outside of our door. It happens in our driveway, in our yard, in the streets in front of us. So understanding what impact we have when we fertilize our lawn or take our dog out or drive our car, understanding the impact that those everyday activities have on the water that runs off of our streets and off of our yards and off of our sidewalks is really important. And so it's events like this that bring those two things together, right? People who don't necessarily think about stormwater, like again, who thinks about stormwater, but bringing it really to a place like this where people gather and think about the systems, the environment that we live in, I think is a perfect place to bring these two things together. It's really important for us because of the fact that we're a coastal region. Not only is there life on land, which is us, and we're dealing with flooding issues and stuff like that because of the tides, but also there's seafood that we eat that we get from the water, and then also the incredibly important and diverse ecosystem that we have in Beaufort County in general, with the marsh and the rivers and the ocean. So it's very important to protect the water quality of that.
Yeah, so not only important to the Public Works Department, but it's important to all of Beaufort County. And we have a very good team that's put all this together to educate the public. Because what happens is all of the stormwater runoff affects all of our estuaries, affects all our shellfish, so it affects our rivers. So that's very impactful. People be mindful of stormwater runoff. So why it's so impactful and important for our community is here in Beaufort County, we have over 100,000 acres of salt marsh. And in that 100,000 acres, that's actually 1/3 of the entire state of South Carolina's marshes. So we're a huge tributary that filters out stormwater. Their stormwater runs through our marshes. So that's why it's so impactful. We have a very large estuary here for, shellfish and fish and any salt life.
I love getting to support stormwater. Obviously, I'm really passionate about it. This is something I do, and I love Shellring. I come here all the time. I love this place. So it was an opportunity to share those two loves. Gotta go. I work for the town of Lufton, right? I can see that, obviously. We really prioritize water quality and all of these policies where I do education outreach for them. So enforcing this education so we all get to know how we can better protect the water quality and the environment around us is really important.
So I'm here to support stormwater program for the Public Works Department of Beaufort County. The Keep Beaufort County Board is very interested in stormwater because of the connections between litter cleanups and the way the county looks and the impact it can have on stormwater. A very important part of the component of the county. Keep Beaufort County Beautiful is a board that was set up by the county. We are volunteers. We are selected by the county council. We serve 3-year terms, although that term can be extended. Our mission is to educate and inform the county and citizens and businesses about litter cleanup, plastic waste reduction, beautification activities within the county, and recycling.
We are Low Country Montessori school, so we are big on all things nature related, anything green, anything in support of the environment and anti-pollution, positive green living, things like that. So we're happy to be out here to support Valentina in her event today. We're out here selling plants, all native plants for our school, Low Country Montessori School. These are all plants that were part of the curriculum grown by our kids ages 3 to 18 in hopes to get a little money for our garden program.
South Carolina Seagrant Consortium, if you're not familiar, we provide and generate coastal science research to protect our coastlines and our coastal communities. So we are all about protecting our waterways, and we know how important the health of our waterways are and our stormwater system. So we're here to support that. We do a lot of research, and a lot of that research that we generate and provide, we also try to get into a digestible format to, bring public knowledge. And although we are not a political organization, we can make recommendations and, provide that science and research to be able to support, public policy that supports our waterways, supports the health of our oceans, and our coastal communities.
Valentina was nice enough to ask me to come and have a booth highlighting native plants. So I'm here to promote the use of native plants and talk to people about birds and bees and anything else, local fauna and flora, Buy American. Well, there are a lot of locally sourced native plants from the southeast, and they generally are things that are going to be heat tolerant, drought tolerant. We don't say disease resistant because we're actually promoting, as host plants, we're promoting plants that insects eat. But the good thing is the insects and the plants have co-evolved over thousands and thousands of years, and these are the plants that are really necessary for the insects to eat so that the birds can feed their babies.
What I'd like for them to understand is the impact of one is construction is a big impact. So if they're if people are educated, I'd like to know that the impact with construction is is all the runoff, all the extra runoff, a lot of the areas that are not pervious. So people can be more educated, and more important, they have, pervious areas versus impervious areas. Yeah, so we have a wonderful stormwater team starting, leading that is Taylor Brewer, is our stormwater manager. Valentina, she's our educator for stormwater and solid waste recycling, and she does an absolute job of educating. And then below them, we have a project manager. We have 3 regulatory inspectors that go out and inspect all of the construction sites. And then below that, we have a superintendent with about 30 staff members that actually go out and maintenance all of our stormwater ditches and storm drains and ponds.
So it's really important to get your community involved because we all are living in the same area, a really close area, a very distinct area. And I always think 2 brains think better than 1. So if there's a bunch of brains in the same area experiencing the same types of hurricanes, the same types of heat waves, the same types of things, we have more innovative solutions and are able to come together when we come to places like this or events like this.
I'm born and raised here in Beaufort County. I've kind of grown up seeing Beaufort County grow. So now that I'm in it, I definitely see now where I could have looked back throughout my life and done a better job of probably being more mindful of stormwater and runoff. So now that I'm in it, I definitely see it with the help of Taylor. She's very good at keeping us on track and keeping everybody being mindful of stormwater drainage.
So Port Royal Sound Foundation works really closely with Beaufort County and the stormwater team to keep the Port Royal Sound healthy. Stormwater is a big component in the inputs into our estuary, so we really want to just work hard to make sure everybody knows what that stormwater can do in our system. So Port Royal Sound Foundation has a big citizen science program. We invite volunteers to help us monitor the Port Royal Sound. One of our big new exciting programs is a water quality monitoring program. We have some trainings coming up, and essentially what we do is train volunteers to go around the watershed and collect samples so that we can understand what's happening and identify change before it becomes a problem.
It's been really exciting. I've had some students come up that are interested in some of the opportunities we have. We have undergraduate internships and graduate level fellowships. And so that's great. And, people are just really excited to hear about the different projects we have going on. We have a South Carolina water monitoring portal. We have water level sensors that we have in different communities. So again, just awareness of, how flooding affects communities and what we can do to mitigate that flooding. We also have, different research on groundwater levels and how flooding affects septic systems and water quality, and just, letting people know about our Troll the Trash program, a trash cleanup program along our beaches, low impact development atlas that we have, which gives information on rain barrels and bioswales and rain gardens, different sort of, coastal nature-based resilience strategies that we have in different parts of South Carolina. So it's been great being able to let people know about all the different projects that we're involved in, because we do a lot along the whole coast of South Carolina.
So we have just about 8.5 acres of working garden space. Because we are Montessori curriculum based, a big part of that curriculum is garden spaces. So all of our children once a week go out into the gardens. They learn about seeds, they learn about plants, composting, the native environment, so any plants and animals that are part of those ecosystems, they learn the ins and outs of all of that. We just recently opened up a culinary kitchen, so we are officially farm to table. So our children literally sow the seeds, harvest the plants, eat the plants, and it all goes back to compost. So it's a full circle mentality that the kids are a part of 100% of the way as part of the curriculum.
The use of native plants is going to be important to lower the impact on your property, the need for pesticides, herbicides. We don't want to use those, or we want to be really intentional about what we are using on our property. And it's real important. What people do on their own property makes a huge difference to the whole community and especially to the estuary. So we want to keep things on our property, and native plants is a good way to start.
We're all about making Beaufort County a great place to live. It's already great. We just want to make it better. If we can control the stormwater issues for the county, we can make everyone's life safer and cleaner. And that's a big part of what Keep Beaufort County Board is trying to accomplish, is to make this an even better place to live. An integral part of our board's requirements as part of our mission is litter cleanups. By increasing the amount of litter that we clean up, reducing the amount of litter in the environment, we can impact the effectiveness of our stormwater system, and then we can impact the safety and the cleanliness of the county. The stormwater system is what allows us to be able to live in this beautiful place with a lot of water, and by keeping it clean, we're able to make it a better place to live.
I actually grew up on the Chesapeake Bay, and I grew up on a river called the Chester River, I should say in the river called the Chester River, and it was a river that needed to be restored. It was pretty dirty. There was a lot going on. And when I first came to Beaufort, I was shocked to find a place that was still so clean, so healthy, and was really still in a place that it could be conserved and protected and didn't need to be restored. So you have a very special place here in Beaufort and on the Port Royal Sound, that you have such a healthy system, and it's up to all of us to keep it that way. So conservation is really an effort to maintain, right? And we have to decide what we want to maintain. So if we have a healthy system and we want to maintain that system, we have to understand what's happening. And a lot of that is observations, a lot of it's data, but that data is only as good as what we do with it, right? So putting data to use in the form of solid policy that really helps us conserve and protect the systems that we love and we depend on. And I think, the policy makers, the decision makers in this region are pretty receptive, right? I think everybody wants a clean, healthy environment in Beaufort County. I love my job because it's such a real impact. It's a community that I've lived in my entire life. I grew up here. It's people that come to these events that empower me to know that this matters and other people care about it and want to do something about it. And just the beauty and nature that we live in Like I'm just staring, you can't see it on the screen, but I'm staring at this beautiful marsh on at the sunset, and it's so serene and calm, and just knowing that there's so many beautiful creatures in there, and yeah, something worth protecting.
It matters for so many reasons, you know, like a lot of people think it's important to keep our waterways healthy and all of that for the sea turtles and all of that, which is really important. Of course, our marine ecosystems are so important, but also our coastal communities, right? We want to make sure that our water is staying clean and that we have enough of it. So yeah, in a nutshell.
Beaufort County does a great job of engaging citizens in volunteer efforts. I'm a perfect example of that. I volunteer for what I do, and I love what I do. I'm also a very active participant. There are numerous litter cleanup opportunities throughout the county. Almost every week, all year long, there are multiple litter cleanups. There's also great things you can do as individuals to be able to improve both stormwater effectiveness as well as keep our county beautiful. And don't put your plastic bottles outside. Stop using plastic bottles, use recyclable bottles. Use reusable bottles for your water. Everything associated with reuse and recycle. The policy impact of the county councils on stormwater and the environment, as well as litter throughout the county, is just critical to be able to reduce the amount of litter in the environment. We know that a few years ago, the county passed a single-use plastic bag ban. Different companies have gotten around that with a different kind of bag. That has really bad impacts on stormwaters because it sets in the grills so the water doesn't flow into the stormwater system. It litters our streets and our roads, and we want to continue to improve the ordinances to reduce single-use plastic throughout the county. And we're working on a new initiative to extend that single-use plastic beyond just single-use plastic bags.
I think if people knew more about, I guess just education in general on stormwater, I think if people knew exactly what type of species, shellfish, anything that live in our waters, this is an ecological system that's huge, right? I mean, birds and fish and shellfish. So I think if people if they realize the impact that it has here on our local marshes and rivers, I think that's what, means the most. I would say rain barrels. So use a rain barrel, trying to conserve that water. So that's one thing that I'm trying to do a better job of conserving, the rainwater often instead of using city water to water your grass or your plants. So I think that's one thing that I've been mindful of is trying to conserve some of that water. And then I guess too, just being mindful of what goes back in the water, being careful. I mean, we're in the river a lot with, boating. So just try to be mindful that we don't have any kind of, gas spills or oils or anything getting in the river. So probably more mindful of that now than I was, 20 years ago.
So we've actually really been trying to practice what we preach. And we recently transitioned to completely zero single-use plastic at our office. So all of our field crews that go out all the time and would always take pallets and pallets of water bottles, due to obviously they're out in the heat and all that, we got them new reusable water bottles. We also have found canned water, so it's a way more recyclable material that it's able to replace the plastic water bottles, not only for the plastic being one of the number one polluters in our litter that we see, but also because of the microplastics that are seen in that type of materials and all of that. So we're really trying to do our part by minimizing the single-use plastic that we use in our department.
It's just so impactful for our community, especially with, just the recent infrastructure growing, right? We've got so many new buildings coming in, and so all of the native land that we have is just that much more precious, and we should be protecting it. So using it to its full potential, making sure that it stays native, stays clean for future generations, right? To just enjoy and to be able to use, I think is really big. The Stormwater project is something that's near and dear to our hearts, something that we're supporting on our campus. We have had Valentina come and do the Stormwater presentation. We have rain barrels that we have collected as part of a project that we have going on campus, Also, we have our own Stormwater mural project that we are in the works of with our high school art club. So they are actively working on designing some of the stormwater drains on our campus to raise awareness for that. So anything big that we can get our hands on that makes it tangible for our students, something that they can take that message, they can do it, they can learn from it, and also teach their peers and people in their community, making that impact, making it tangible, so that way people understand it and know why it is that we're doing what we're doing in the community. It's going green, being healthier, right? And so we find that, especially with our program, being Montessori, throwing the kids out in nature and letting them explore and kind of lead that discovery, right? So it's interesting to them, it's not forced, but they're in an environment where it's 100% healthy, they're in nature, so they're making really good choices based on things where it's already good for them, right? So they see it in a positive way. It's something that they're prideful about. They learn about the impacts that they have, not just on themselves, but their community. So it's really neat to see that, lack of a better word, pun intended, that seed sown, right? And these kids move all the way up into high school with these tools and this knowledge to not only live better, but do better for their native environments, for their community. And when they leave here, hopefully they carry all that knowledge and skill, and they take that into adulthood and transfer that in other communities and just let it spread, right?
Well, it's a good thing to talk to people about what you're doing, and people may really not know about native plants. So I'm here to educate people and try to hopefully persuade them in the benefits and the beauty of native plants. Go to the farmer's market, know your farmer, buy local. I mean, I'm a big proponent of buying local plants, buying local mulches, things that are, that are supposed to be here.
Yeah, I think events like these are so important because it's a good way to get involved on like a kind of low stress level. It's getting out and hanging out with your neighbors and getting to know people around you who are doing good for the community. There's not as much pressure of a formal presentation. It's hanging out, having a beer, and getting to learn more about the environment around you. For us, the May River is such a huge priority. We want to protect it. We all live around the May River. You know, we go to the May, you go boating on it, you enjoy shellfish from it. It's so important, and it's really like the heart of Bluffton. Yeah, so there is a way to develop sustainably as well as like respect all of those development agreements that are already there. It's just important that we consider future impacts as well as the impacts now of stormwater.
Obviously, we're the county, so whenever things go into effect, laws, ordinances, all of that, we follow suit because it's the law. And so there's no way of, we're just do what we're supposed to do and what the law tells us to do. But for the most part, we as Beaufort County, we adopted the SoLoco manual for developers, which is a really stringent stormwater development manual and certain practices that developers have to undergo in order to develop here in Beaufort County. So whenever they're building, they have to do various stormwater practices, best practices, such as having a rain garden on site before allowing residents to occupy a property. So it's really cool because Beaufort County really has some of the most stringent stormwater development rules for developers here in the Low Country. So we really do care, and we have precious environment to protect. So that's why we all came together and were able to form this SoLoco manual.
I really truly feel like the policies that are in place are for a reason. It's so important now than ever to really understand why these policies are in place and the detriment to our communities if we lose those policies. Just everything is so vital, and it's one of those things where everything almost feels endangered at this point, and I feel like we're at a crucial point where we have to stick to our guns and really fight for what we believe is worth fighting for. And we feel like these policies set in place help protect our native wetlands, all of our lands that we have that are being used to, go green and help our environment and for generations to come and keep that intact. So this is a great event. We think it's time for us to do things like this. I think this is something great to kick off. We would love to be part of more of these kind of events. It's great for us. We like to be able to see other partnerships happening and to network and resource with like-minded agencies for the bigger collective. And again, to back these policies that are in place to keep Beaufort beautiful and to go green. Absolutely.
Although the field can be tough sometimes, especially when you see, public policy being passed that might not be what you wish, or you see natural hazards happening, flooding, all of that, it's so important to stay positive and to keep going. And there's so many silver linings and so many good organizations doing so much great work, like, the people right next to me, which is the Fort Royal Sound Foundation. And so, yeah, it's just keep at it.
Keep Beaufort County Beautiful has done a great job of working with the county and working with volunteers. The real connection that we have with the county is through the Public Works Department. So the stormwater management people and the public works recycling people have been just champions for us. And everything that we need to support the county is facilitated by the county staff themselves. Since we're volunteers, the county is the arms and legs to help us make things happen. So working with our county partners is just absolutely critical for our success.
Hey, start learning about what's around you, right? That's the first step, is figuring out what is there and what's important and how to better protect your environment. There's lots of easy things you can do around the house. It's the way you do your yard work. It's not dumping litters down the storm drains. It's picking up after your pet every single time they go to the bathroom. It's really easy steps to help have a huge impact on the environment around you. So even at 5, I cared a lot about the environment. I read the Lorax and I was like, okay, perfect, I'm getting in there. I think environmental education for younger people is so important because as a child, you do care so much and you want to protect the world around you, and kind of understanding that way to do it as a young person is so important. Which we do a lot of early elementary education, and I think that's so important to feed that passion because it lasts forever.
Well, it's such a cool thing to look at under a microscope or under a hand lens. If you can get a kid a magnifying glass, that just opens up a whole world. Even little flowers, a lot of times people are really worried about big showy flowers, but some of the littlest, tiniest flowers are very important to the native pollinators that have little tiny mouths.
What I would tell someone would be just get curious, go outside, spend time outside looking at the little ants, looking at all the different creatures that are in nature. It's really honestly beautiful and interesting to see how everything works in symbiosis, and the life cycle and natural food chain and all of that works. It's fascinating and truly honestly perfect. I think the only perfect thing that exists. So
I always go to the Clemson Home and Garden Information website. I feel like there's a lot of good information there to help people. It's research-based information. There's a lot of information on websites that is totally, they just want to sell you something, but using educational websites, that way you're getting research-based information.
So some things that I want to highlight for Stormwater Awareness Week. So always go through our Beaufort County page, the Stormwater page. We have an education and outreach tab. There we have a whole presentation on Stormwater 101. We also have a how-to and how a rain barrel works, which is great if you're curious about that. We also have various links to resources on native plants, certain types of things that are involving stormwater if you're interested in it. And the Clemson Extension is really great for stormwater resources as well as certifications if you're really interested in it. And yeah.
I'll say, thank y'all again for doing this. I want to again thank my stormwater team. I want to thank everybody at Public Works. I want to thank Jared Fralix, my ACA. If it wasn't for him and Mr. Moore as the county administrator of giving us the backing and letting us do this and supporting everything we do. So I just want to thank everybody at Beaufort County for what we do here at Public Works.
I would want to thank, of course, Beaufort County government for supporting all stormwater awareness, making events like this happen. bolstering the community to spread awareness and education, as well as all the local partners that came out to promote stormwater awareness. Roots and Shoots was here, Danny Payne with Naturescapes. We also have Low Country Montessori with native plant sales, SEC grant, as well as Port Royal Sound Foundation. So everybody that came here, and Public Works Department for helping put this together, and the broadcasting services of Beaufort County. We're all always working in teamwork.